How's it going, everybody? This is Petey from SupplementReviews.com bringing you another video review. This time we're talking about a hot product that's been out for a while. We're talking about actually two different versions very briefly, but today we're going to focus on the improved version, the special edition version, of none other than LGI Fully Loaded. This review is long overdue. I've been meaning to do it for quite some time now. I actually got to sit down, talk about the formulation, and of course the product itself with the creator of the product, which was awesome. Get some more, I guess, thought into what went into it. Learn about the manufacturing process, and of course pick his brain for what may be coming next, and let me tell you, it's some exciting stuff. Alright. First and foremost, thank you to LGI for sending this our way, to both myself as well as the rest of my expert review team. It's gone over extremely well with them, so now it's going to get picked apart today. We'll see what I think of it too, taking a closer look at the ingredient profile. Old Petey here, when he gets to digging, you never know what you find. Alright guys, first and foremost, this is the Fully Loaded. This is the Amplified Energy Edition, and this is in the green apple flavor. Alright, so taking a look at the front of the container there, got 30 servings. Single scoop serving size, which is more than you'll need. It doesn't have a bunch of stuff on the containers and like, oh, ridiculous pumps, skin tearing vascularity, all that good stuff. It keeps it pretty simple. Pump, focus, energy, endurance. His dietary supplement, take 1 scoop 30 minutes prior to workout. Don't exceed 1 scoop a day. It's clear as day right here on the container. Keeping it nice and simple, not going over the top in terms of putting stuff on the container. That's a good start. I like that. So, first and foremost, let's go about the taste and mixability. When I first saw that it was being released in green apple for this special edition of the Amplified Energy Edition, well, I can't say I was super thrilled. Green apple's been done to death in so many different products. It's kind of old. However, this is actually one of the best in terms of green apple that I've had. It's a little more subtle. It doesn't go over the top, and I appreciate that because the last thing I feel like doing is drinking some overly try hard green apple flavor product prior to working out. Not a big deal. I don't mix my pre-release with a whole bunch of water anyway. Just kind of put it in a cup and slam it. However, this stuff is very pleasant. When you look at the nature of the ingredients in it, it makes it even more impressive. In terms of mixability wise, some of the stuff in there can be tricky to mix. We'll cover that ingredient profile. The rest is the GPLC and a few other things. But that being said, the flavor is actually pretty dang good. One of the best green apples I've tried in the pre, so kudos there, even though I was not expecting that. Mixability, it has its own little texture. Of course, it has a GPLC and a few other things in there that traditionally have an odd texture in water, but it mixes perfectly fine. Tiny bit of residue. Add a little water, another little shake, and it goes down the hatch. No big issues right there. So taste and mixability, right off the bat, I'm giving it a 9.3 out of 10. Keeping it simple. I don't use a ton of water, so you know, it's not a big deal, but you know, I was making a note of it. Alright, next up, this is where this product absolutely, it better live up to its name, is Fully Loaded, and I think you honestly could take a look at the ingredient panel and see why that's where the name came from. So first, I guess, reaction, if you're taking a look at the container right here, it's got a laundry list of ingredients in here, so your first reaction may be this is pixie dusted to death. However, that is not the case. Everything in here is, this is a pretty good sized scoop for a pre-workout here, and all the dosages are fully listed. There's nothing, absolutely nothing hidden in the blend. It's got a pretty good sized scoop here, so you're not getting some tiny little concentrated scoop that's just full of stimulants. This is a fully loaded, pun intended, product here in terms of all the ingredients. Alright, so first and foremost, 1 scoop is a serving size. That's all you need. You may even need to use less than 1 full scoop. So in terms of dosing wise, we'll cover that later. I like that starting right off the bat. Everything in here is at a good dose. So first and foremost, taking a look at, of course, the standard pre-workout inclusions here: vitamin C, niacin, vitamin B6, B12, magnesium, sodium, potassium, all that good stuff for general energy and muscle function in there, of course, with the little bit of electrolyte blends in there: magnesium, sodium, potassium. Now, this is where, of course, it gets its legs. We're going to cover each little thing individually here. To some extent, you know, I'm not going super in depth on most. They're pretty basic, but I'll tell you the rhyme and the reason behind what we've got here. All right, first up, Citrulline Malate. Got that in there. Traditional, you know, it's an NO precursor. Going to help with endurance. Of course, help with nitric oxide production. Beta-alanine. Got in there at a good hefty amount at 2.5 grams per serving there. Clinically dosed is 3.2. However, 2.5 is more than enough. You get tons and tons of that through all the other supplements you're taking, and it's going to do more than enough for lactic acid buffering. Okay, that's what beta-alanine does. takes care of intracellular carnitine levels, and of course gets rid of that muscular burn when you're working, therefore increasing endurance. Okay, so you got the nice tandem of citrulline and beta-alanine in there for that endurance factor. Taurine, excellent in there for cognitive function, okay? And of course, blood flow as well as endurance. It's kind of broken up in the blocks, so they have it listed here on the ingredient panel, which is kind of nice, okay? Glycerol monostearate, GPLC, which are both in there for that pump. That's where you're going to get a little bit of oddness in terms of the mixability. GPLC is not easy stuff to mix. However, what it's going to do is it's going to be in there, it's going to draw water into the muscle cells, therefore increasing, of course, localized blood flow and, of course, the sought-after pump. And that is going to make it kind of tricky to mix in water. That's no big deal. The GPLC is an excellent pumping product, and it's in here at a hefty amount. It's going to be rocking in here at 750 milligrams per scoop. That's more than enough to get the job done. L-Tyrosine is in there. It's an anti-stress and cognitive enhancer. Okay, a nice natural amino acid. I love the inclusion there here. Agmatine sulfate, got a 0.5 gram per scoop. That's going to complement nicely with the GPLC as well as the other endurance factors. What that's going to do is going to increase circulation, vasodilation. Therefore, you're going to have both that pump as well as, of course, the expansion of the vascular system in terms of getting everything where it needs to be, increasing blood flow, and of course aiding further in that pump. It works synergistically with the other ingredients. That's why agmatine is included in nearly everything these days. Okay. Now getting into a little more of the stimulant blend here. Caffeine, clearly listed 300 milligrams per scoop. That's a pretty good amount. It's at the upper limits usually in terms of what I see in a pre-workout. I've seen higher, obviously. There's some out there with 400. And I've seen a couple with 5. That's pushing it, but no, 300 is actually a pretty good cutoff because it doesn't rely strictly on caffeine to get the job done here in terms of some products just going above and beyond this stuff as much caffeine in product. That's not the case. It's hefty amount in this product at 300, but it's not going to rely solely on that for the focus. Okay. Next up, the important one here in that case would be AMP citrate. Okay, got in here at 300 milligrams as well. That's going to be a nice stimulant one. That's where the complements of the caffeine as well as the AMP citrate are going to come in and have that nice, boom, sharp mental focus as well as a stimulating effect. Okay, so I like seeing the AMP citrate in there at that clinical level, so that's good. Okay, I'll have a side note on the AMP citrate at the end of the ingredient profile here when we cover something really quick. All right. Lactone, what that's in there, it's been known for detoxification of the body, of course, help keep you healthy, increase circulation, kind of making a well-rounded pre-workout. It's in there for different uses, but of course the traditional uses for detoxification. You see that in energy drinks. Some companies leave the claim it's a detoxifying product because of that. However, this is in here for, of course, general circulation and, of course, to further enhance the effects of the other ingredients in this product, which is good. All right, moving on from there, L-norvaline. Same deal. It's going to help increase the circulation and nitric oxide production, therefore, of course, making the system just run more efficiently. Higenamine HCl, of course, is a nice stimulant in there. It's been appearing in a lot of things. Phenethylamine, of course, got in there. It's also known as BPEA or beta PEA. What that's going to do is, of course, going to increase your mood and your cognitive function in there. Okay. Moving on past that, of course, got the alpha GPLC. It's another neurotransmitter in there. Once again, there's a lot of cognitive things in here, which I like, because they're going to pair the stimulants as well as things in there like a nootropic, and of course a cognitive effect for focus, bringing a nice 1-2 punch, rolling down the list there. Okay. One of the first things you notice here, and this is one of the first products I've seen as a note, it does have also the picotropin in there. It's one of the first nootropics that came on the market there. It's been introduced a while back. This was one of the first to have it, and now you see it in most pre-workouts. So this is kind of one of the front runners, one of the pioneers in terms of including picotropin. Hit the ground running, had a great response, got me started on liking picotropin in all my pre-workouts, because it works really well, and you're going to see that in, of course, pre-workouts as well as many of your thermogenics, and it for good reason, because it's an excellent nootropic, aka increases mental focus, cognition, and it works. Okay, it's in here at a good hefty amount too, at 50 milligrams. Okay, alpha GPC is another neurotransmitter, so I like seeing the inclusion in there. Now, one of the unique things in here is, of course, ericoline hydrobromide, aka Erica catechu seed. Okay, what that is going to be in there, this is the only product to my knowledge that has this in there. It's a special inclusion. It's not seen in anything else. I was very intrigued by this, of course, and I had a good chat with the creator of the product on the inclusion of it here. It's very unique, increasing the cognitive function and mental concentration, overall focus of the user. So some looking for, I guess, a new step or a level above in terms of cognitive function, focus, all those benefits right there. This is a very intriguing ingredient. It is a very expensive ingredient, and that's another reason you don't see it very often. But I love seeing it in here. It was kind of fun to try a product that actually had this in here, and it is very noticeable in terms of like that extra mental nootropic edge. So I like the inclusion in here. And it doesn't take a lot to get the job done. 10 milligrams in that big scoop there. It gets the job more than done. And last but not least, you got huperzine A in there, which is an NMDA receptor antagonist. In other words, what it's going to do is it's going to further increase, once again, cognitive function and be a neurotransmitter. Okay, so this product here has an excellent blend of neurotransmitters, vasodilators, pump ingredients, as well as stimulants, and of course, I guess general well-being things in terms of muscle function. So it does deliver a fully loaded ingredient profile. All right. One thing of a quick note here, a lot of people are going to be wondering what the difference between the regular fully loaded and the fully loaded amplified energy edition. It's actually very simple. There's 4 key things. If you're comparing the two, I'll cut the cliff notes here for you. In the amplified energy edition, there's more amp citrate, there's more caffeine, there's 50 milligrams of higenamine added, and also there's 10 milligrams of the areca catechu seed. Okay, so that's going to be the main difference compared to the original version, making it even better. All right, so it's going to have that extra edge. So, what do I think about this ingredient profile here? There's a lot of stuff in here. There's a lot of stuff with promise. But the main thing you also have to look at too is it pixie dusted? And to answer your question there, no. Everything in here is at a very good amount. Nothing is underdosed. Everything in there is at the amount that it needs to be done. There weren't any corners cut in terms of production, which is very impressive, especially because there's so many expensive ingredients in here. Picotropin is not cheap. That seed extract is not cheap. Higenamine is not cheap. Some of the amino acids are cheaper, but then we got in stuff like agmatine, alpha GPC, all that good stuff. That is going to rack up a bill very quickly. It was very interesting. I can't disclose it. It's an industry thing. It was very interesting. The cost of how much this is actually cost to produce compared to how much it's sold for, there is not much difference. It is a very expensive product to make, and it's actually pretty novel. And that's why it sells well, is because it's a very effective product for a good price, especially for all the stuff they pack in there. We'll talk about that more on the value in a bit here. But overall, for the ingredient profile, with that long list of ingredients, I really have no complaints whatsoever in terms of stuff I'd like to see included or bumped up. I think everything in there has been well thought out, and they did a lot of extensive testing, feedback searching to see exactly what people wanted in a pre-workout before they put this together. So they had a very thorough, I guess, pre-production analysis on this. I love the ingredient profile here. This is going to get a 9.6 out of 10. All right. So once again, I love the ingredient profile. I personally, of course, like the additional stimulants, because I'm a stim junkie, of the amplified edition versus the old one. So just take that into account. Just if you want more stims or less stims, that'll be, of course, your main deciding factor between the two. All right. So next up, effectiveness. This stuff works really well. You get a nice focus. The pumps are really good. The GPLC I respond well to. The agmatine is going to increase the blood flow. You're going to notice increased vascularity. Of course, it's going to also play in part of how lean you are, what type of workouts you're doing, where you're doing pump versus strength, all that good stuff. But across the board, the pumps are great. The focus hits every time. So is the amp citrate, picotropin, the caffeine. It'll get you going, get you locked in, get you focused. It's hard to go wrong with everything in there, and the endurance is increased. I like this. This is actually one of the best pre-workouts I've gotten a chance to try overall, and that's another reason I feel bad about kind of putting off reviewing it, because it's usually one of my top recommendations, because, it's not really lacking in any department, which is awesome. I guess, in all fairness, now with like the introduction of a few new ingredients on the market, I'd like to see it tweaked a little bit to make it even cooler. But at the same time, you really don't need to touch this. This is very good in terms of effectiveness. And I just simply said it works every time, and it works very well. Don't know anybody that's tried that hasn't liked it, including myself. It's going to get a very, very solid 9.5 out of 10. All right. So in terms of the value here, one thing that is going to be a huge deciding factor is, like I said, that ingredient profile. the temptation to put all that cool stuff in there and pixie dust is very high. However, that's not the case. Everything is fully listed. There's no ingredients in here in a prop blend. Everything is in there. What you see is what you get, and of course, you'll know exactly what you're paying for. It's priced very well, the same price as most pre-workouts, for 30 servings on the dot, no 2-scoop nonsense in here, and for the cost of production compared to what it's sold for, this is actually one of the best values in terms of a pre-workout that I've seen on the market, which makes this even more impressive here. Okay, so to have a good value rating, especially for me, because like going above and beyond, it takes quite a bit here. So I was very pleased, and overall I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10 in terms of value. Okay, so that's the main thing, is just because this is some expensive stuff. I was actually looking up the raw prices for some of these things in here, and it is... I will not be making my own pre-workout anytime soon. Sorry to disappoint everybody, but it takes some cash, especially when you're a little selfless here to bring a good product to the market for how much this stuff costs. I'm like, kudos to you. You could sell us for a lot more, make a lot more money, but hey, whatever you want to do, man. If you want to give it away, that's cool too. All right. Last but not least, the overall rating of this for the fully loaded is going to be very good. I love the effects. Tastes and mix pretty dang good, so you don't mind drinking it. The ingredient profile is stellar. It is in fact fully loaded. The value is very impressive because everything in there is fully disclosed. Everything in there is a high quality ingredient. Everything was thoroughly thought out to put in there, and no corners were cut in production. And of course, it flat out works. So overall, for my overall rating for fully loaded, it's going to get a very, very solid 9.5 out of 10. Very strong out the gate. Love this stuff since the first time I've tried it. It's one, I'd say, in probably my top 4 recommendations of pre-workout that you need to try. I was between top 3, top 4. It is very, very highly up there. I've used this probably 4 or 5 different occasions, and this is the first time I got a chance to use the Amplified Energy one. I've used the old version before, and this one's my favorite. So for me to actually come back to a product, it has to be pretty good because there's a lot of different stuff on the market, tons of stuff on the market. And if I could take a different pre-workout every single day, anybody could. You'd probably never try all of them on the market. For something to stand out like this, it takes something special. All right, everybody. So that's my final notes on this. This is an excellent product. It's well put together. You won't be disappointed in terms of trying this out. I'd highly recommend it. And of course, another note on here, I mean, don't just take my word for it. There's tons of reviews on our site for SupplementReviews.com. It hits every time. It's got some of the highest ratings ever from our expert review team. I believe they have a couple of 9.5 out of 10s. That's not a number I see very often because, you know, it has to be pretty dang impressive for a product to be up there in terms of that rating. I think it's worth every point of that, and you know, I just really nothing bad that I can say about this stuff. It's very well put together. It's like they got challenged and put together the best they can come up with. Here you go, game on. So, all right, everybody, I'm gonna wrap this up. Gone on a little too long here, but we didn't miss anything. So once again, this has been Petey from SupplementReviews.com reviewing fully loaded Amplified Energy from LGI. Thanks for watching. Check out the video reviews for the other products on our site, and of course, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all that good social media stuff. Once again, it's Petey from SupplementReviews.com. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.